I'm Wilson Lai, and you're listening to Deep Cut. On Deep Cut, we compare a director's most popular film with a personal favorite chosen by one of us. We also discuss that director's life and career to bring in context that helps us view their movies as they may want us to. If you're enjoying the show, please rate and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts to help others discover the show. Better still, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or comment on episodes directly on Spotify. If you'd like to share a message with us, feel free to drop us an email at hello@deepcutpod.com. You can also find us at deepcutpod.com to find links to our socials, Discord, and Patreon. Welcome back to our fourth episode in our series of director interviews that I conducted at this year's Hong Kong International Film Festival. On this week's episode, I am interviewing Indonesian director Edwin, who has his latest horror film, Sleep No More, which played at this year's festival. It was a very insightful conversation. Edwin and I got to chat about his influences, history of horror filmmaking in Indonesia, as well as his thoughts on genre filmmaking and how that can be sort of a Trojan horse for indie filmmakers like Edwin himself. We also end the interview with a really sweet sing-along that was inspired by his feature film debut. So please tune in and stick around for that. Special thank you again to Rainy Tao and Polly Chan from HKIFF for making this happen. Without further ado, this is my interview with director Edwin. I am here with director Edwin, who is presenting his latest feature film, Sleep No More, at this year's Hong Kong International Film Festival. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me for this interview. And maybe I want to start with, because your film has played at the festival already, how was it presenting your new film in Hong Kong to Hong Kong audiences?
Yesterday I had my first screening at the Gala Cinema Langham, Bangkok.
Yes.
It was really nice screening. I had fun together with the audience. We had a really good Q&A session. Even after the Q&A in the theater, still there are some discussion outside the cinema. So yeah, I'm so happy, and I thank the festival to have my film and to screen to the Hong Kong audience. There are some Indonesian audience too. I met 2 students and 2 workers in Hong Kong. So yeah, I'm excited and looking forward for the next screening tomorrow.
That's great. Maybe we can start at the very beginning. So I was wondering what got you into filmmaking. What were your favorite films or directors when you were growing up?
I grew up around in the late 80s, early 90s. That's I think the most film experience I watched during this period. And mostly it's in Hollywood films and also Indonesian films. I like the films like Jaws, like regular Hollywood fun film, like Terminator.
Yes.
And Rocky. Rocky is a good one. Yeah.
It is.
But also I was exposed with so many horror films from the Indonesian cinema. We had a lot of Indonesian horror films that are quite scary but also funny at the same time, because I think the audience really like the idea of being, surprised.
Yes.
And the horror and the comedy just blend so well, I think, in our culture. So yeah, that's what I got from my learning process with the film. Of course, then I got exposed when I was in the film school in Jakarta. But before that, I had no experience with art house cinema at all. I know only Indonesian cinema and Hollywood films a little bit, good films. For example, if there is a screening in the cultural embassy, like Japan
Oh,
cultural
yes.
embassy,
Yeah.
France, Germany, that usually has frequent screenings. So I got exposed to that kind of, different kind of film. So and then slowly I learned that there are a lot of different kind of film in this world.
Yeah.
But Hong Kong cinema is also one of my experience, early
Okay.
experience. Of course, Bruce Lee, all those gangster film.
Yeah.
It was quite famous and popular in Indonesia too.
Yeah. It seems like from this film and from your other films, you are a child of genre films. So horror films or westerns or all these different genres. I want to ask you how you feel about genre films, artistically, but also commercially. Like, what do you feel about, genre movies?
I think at the beginning I thought if we stick on one genre, like really, doing it as much as possible to stay with the formula, it kind of boring, I would say, because we too many exposure on those kind of genre film. Then as an audience, I expect more surprise. But it's no doubt that it's a powerful tool to invite the audience, especially general audience who doesn't really got exposed to an art house film, especially in Indonesia. We don't have a lot options to watch different kind of film. So genre is it's a good tools to introduce into other kind of cinema. So I think what I do with this film and some of my previous films too, like Vengeance is Mine or Other Paycast and Borderless Folk, I try to mix some kind of familiar genre, and then after audience got familiar, then I would like to invite them to get lost together in more like can be like a surreal experience, can be a magical experience, which I really love and I got from art house cinema.
So with regards to your new film Sleep No More, what elements of that film do you feel like sort of transcend or go beyond the horror or horror comedy genre?
I don't know. It's I think the mixture of the genre, because there's the horror films that I put in the Sleep No More is quite specific, inspired, or I learned from like Hollywood films, The Thing, John Carpenter, Cronenberg, whereas I see some kind of irony and satire touch on the social commentary as well.
Right.
So that part I would love to, I'm excited to explore and share with the more mainstream audience, or mainstream more audience that are used to with the mainstream films.
Right.
Yeah. So the comedy part is not gonna be. It's not like a ha 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 comedy, But I believe audience also has this kind of sensibilities, to process and to play with their imagination and connect with the social commentary or the political situation nowadays.
Yeah. I do want to ask about that because I watched your feature debut film, Blind Pig, who wants to fly last week, and absolutely loved it. It's an incredible film. And I love how you weaved in a real political situation, the riots that were happening, into that film and used it as commentary. So I was wondering, with this film, with Sleep No More, I am quite unfamiliar with Indonesian politics or what's going on, issues going on in Indonesia, but were you trying to talk about current issue that is going on, maybe with factory workers or something, overworking or something like that in Indonesia with this film?
Yeah, I think it's a response to what we see from, what I see from today's situation on how even young people got really stressful at work because of, I think that's not enough choices for them, to do their job and, but also at the same time to enjoy life. I see working is something that needs to be criticized or re-evaluated to some extent, being more human And I think this film is also tackle how the people in power who organize on or operates the, let's say, the factory, or factory is just a symbol. It's the society that were controlled by the power system that I think needs to be criticized, and I would love to share this to all of us, the workers, including me, including my friends, in every aspect of economic level, because we need to be waken up, to bring our humanity on top of all those exploitation.
Yeah, I think a lot of the images, like although you place it in a horror film, but a lot of the images of your workers coming together, meeting together, and making a plan to defeat the monster, is the images of that is also reflective of a union, like a worker joining a union and doing something. And to me, it was very powerful because you go in and you're expecting something very popcorn, Hollywood, that kind of general horror film, but you'll leave thinking about something more.
Yeah, that would be, exactly.
And the factory is a central space in the film, and people live near the factory as well, and they live in that compound. I want to ask why you decided to make this film set in a factory, and especially a factory that makes like mannequins and wigs.
Yeah. At the beginning, me, the producer, and my co-writer, Eka Kurniawan, who I worked with before.
Yeah, he wrote the story for Vengeance Is Mine, right? Yeah,
he's a book author. And we write also together with the Japanese co-writer. We want to make an original story, and it's definitely we are asking of how can we avoid a ghost story, because horror is there's a lot of horror films based on a spiritual character. We have a lot of myth, and lore, so people are used to entertained by those kind of ghost character. And I believe the horror can be created not only by something that we don't know, like a ghost character, but also a real situation that we are facing in everyday life. And then we came up with this news that a lot of young workers, not only in the factory but also in the creative industry as well, suffering for a human treatment in their working condition. So that's the idea of at the beginning. And then I think factory, it's a quite obvious choices to bring it cinematically. There is definitely a lot of visual elements that we can explore, sound wise as well, and the allegory of the repressed workers can be used as well as, to portray the condition of working condition that is unfair. So the factory itself, it's a character that we want to explore. And then why wig factory? But it's luckily we got access to a friendly factory, a wig factory.
Wow.
in Indonesia. Of course, it's a good factory. It's a small factory.
Yes,
they don't really exploit, I believe. So because it's quite proper, everything is looks proper, professional. But then when I spend time alone during night, when they close, it can be quite eerie, with the dark alley and full of hair. So there's a lot of imagination in it. It's a perfect location, to show how the atmosphere of our working condition can be creepy and scary if we are not in a very well condition. Of course, if we are in a healthy condition, it's nothing. But then we are talking about pressed condition, then those shadow mind can be quite creepy.
Yeah. And it's really cool because you talk about the healthy condition, right? And I feel like so many horror films make you be scared of when you fall asleep, but your film sort of makes you be scared of what if you don't fall asleep? What if you stay awake? And I think that was just a very cool I don't know, flipping of the usual horror film tropes.
Yeah. I think that's still connected. We try to connect it with the social commentary part where nowadays when you need a rest, it feels like something that is not proper because you wasting your time to sleep. So I think that's not healthy. People are repressed, even afraid to have a rest in order to keep their position as to keep their job. That's so wrong. I mean, it's in many level. It's just a systemic event, to make the capitalist become more stronger and stronger and make the humanity get lower and lower.
It's a powerful message. I want to ask about the scares in your film. There are some big scenes where you have the hair coming in, and like I was thinking about the scene in the bathroom when Putri is like looking and it's above her. And I was wondering how you were thinking about where to place the big scares in a pacing way. Like where do you place the scares in your film in order so you can have like a good flow of a plot of a horror film?
Because this is my first time really working with the horror, like as a mostly the genre. So at the writing, we try to put as much as possible, and let's see at the editing which one is working, which one is not. I try to have every 15 minutes something interesting happens. It doesn't have to be scary, but at least the atmosphere can be kept as creepy as possible or as funny as possible.
Yeah, I definitely see that. I was definitely not bored throughout the film, which is really great. Do you feel like did you have scares that you cut from the film? Were there quite a bit of scares that you took out in the editing room then?
No, but I had one scene that I love that scene, but it's too funny.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you are very careful about keeping the balance between not making it too funny or not making it too scary as well, right?
Yeah, because I remember that I liked this kind of film when I was young. I would love to invite this film to not like a children, but at least like a teenager can also enjoy this. Yeah, I don't want to sell gory things to the young audience. I love gory films, by the way, but not for this film because I think it's more. This film would love to invite the audience to think or reflect on their everyday lives rather than be entertained by scary events or jump scares, for example.
I want to move on to talking about casting, specifically one character, Mariati, who you cast, Didik Nini Thowok, who's I was reading up on this actor, and you see they have a very storied history of playing gender bent roles in theater, right?
Yeah.
So maybe could you talk about like finding this actor and deciding to cast them as the big villain?
He's a maestro. He's a master in his art. I grew up amazed by his performance. She can portray very complex character in his works, but it's so entertaining as well. But when you finish experiencing the performance, you will end up with a lot of questions, and I think it's a good process for us to have to end having an experience entertainment, but at the and then we have a lot of thinking process. So based on that, I would love to have him in this film. And actually, he's the one I asked without casting process. So and at the beginning of the story, when we write the character Mariati, it's always already him.
It was in your head.
And I asked the producer, can we? Because I don't know him before. I mean, he lives in different city. And I have never met before, but I only watched their performance on TV. So I would love to have his opinion on this idea of giving him a character like Mariati. Yeah. Well, he played in some of a comedy, but it's very raw, small role.
role.
For fun. I think it's not really his main professional actor job. I think he prefers more like a dancing and theater. But with this film, I would love to have his presence more. And actually, Mariati is the main character of the film.
Yeah, you can definitely say that. I want to ask about your film has a really cool, awesome blend of CGI and also practical effects in your film. And it is a little cheesy to watch at times, but I think intentionally you want it to be that way. I want to ask about your approach to like what parts of it you decide to use practical effects and what parts of it you decide to use CGI and how you achieve that.
I experienced really, before this film, I did Borderless Fog, a Netflix film. It has a very heavy CGI. It takes a lot of time, although it's a good one, but it takes a lot of time. And I think I didn't really enjoy the process, working with machine. So with this film, since the beginning, I really want to work with the practical effects, so the actor can really react on the thing. It's not like a green screen, empty space, But obviously, it's not all can be done with the practical effect. So I have to blend it with not a CGI. Actually, it's a very minimum 3D object that I create. Maybe just only like an additional blood to to be controlled. But for the monster itself, it's a combination of practical effects and compositing. So still we should like, for example, we put the hair inside an aquarium. So we have this kind of flowing effect, and we take that flowing hair and combine it with the practical effects that we did. Yeah, so it's less CGI.
And do you feel like that it helped with your actors' performances?
Exactly.
To be there.
Yeah, because I think it's important, to have a fair reaction from the actor. I see like a lot of horror films. The actor has to imagine the terror in front of their acting. So maybe on the set it's gonna be like really bright, and then there's only a pillow to be used as a ghost. So I can imagine that it's difficult for and it's gonna be like a very generic response, like screaming, and over the top screaming usually. So I would love to bring that thing, the monster on the set, so everybody knows, and it has some kind of human reaction as well. We as a crew, we know that this is the monster that we created, we touch it.
Wow, that's really great. I'm wondering if you feel like this is the end of your exploration with horror, or do you, after this first horror film, do you want to do more horror?
Yeah. It's fun to make a horror film. So it's not easy. It's part of the process. It's quite difficult. I think by now I can say horror and comedy has some kind of difficulty, but I think I can see in the future I still would love to explore the genre, or at least put some elements of horror in some sequences, even though it's not a horror film.
Are there any genres that you haven't touched that you want to make a film on?
Lot.
Okay, what's number one? Or
science fiction. I love science fiction too. It's interesting how can I mixed with anything other else. I like time travel films as well. I like a comedy, like a stupid comedy. And then children. Children. I would really love a kid's point of view of the world.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see maybe in the future what genres you tackle next. Our final question. So our podcast is called Deep Cut, and we talk about lesser known films or lesser known directors. So do you have a film that you want to recommend to our listeners that are maybe lesser known or lesser seen that you really enjoy, you want people to watch?
My most I think I really love this Indonesian film. I don't know where to get it. Even in Indonesia, I don't have any access to that film. But I saw it when I was young. I mean, when I was kid. Called Bintang Kejora.
Bintang Kejora.
Bintang is a star. Yeah, Kejora is like Bintang Kejora is like a comet. The comet.
Okay, yeah.
Bintang Kejora. I believe it's film from the early 80s or late 70s. It's a comedy. Yeah, it's quite absurd comedy, but it's quite entertaining as well. Yeah, about this guy who sells rain.
Oh,
yeah, to the villagers who lives in a very dry village the whole time.
Oh.
Yeah, and villagers will do everything to buy the rain.
Wow.
Yeah,
so check it out, Bintang Kejora. Once again, thank you so much for your interview. We have I have a little bit of time left, and I want to do this because I saw this in your film last week, and I'm like, I need to do this with someone, and I think you would be the perfect person to do it with.
What
so
happened?
let's close the episode out. I just called to say I love you. I just called to say how much I care. I just called to say I love you. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was fun.
Thank you for listening to this interview with Edwin. And thank you to Edwin for joining me on this episode of the podcast. A special thanks again to Rainy Tao and Polly Chan from the HKIFF team for your help with this interview. And thank you for listening to Deep Cut. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts to help others discover the show. A great way to support us is to leave a review or comment on our episodes directly on Spotify. If you want to chat with us and other fans of Deep Cut, come join our Discord server where we talk about movies, TV, music, and share what we're up to. If you'd like to share a message with us or have business inquiries, feel free to drop us an email at hello@deepcutpod.com. We also have a Patreon if you'd like to support us with a monthly subscription. Thank you to all our Patreon supporters, and a very special thanks to our Patreon Deep Cut Pick supporter, Leah Lai. You can keep up with Deep Cut on Instagram and Letterboxd at Deep Cut Pod. Click the link in our description or go to deepcutpod.com to find links to everything we've mentioned here. Deep Cut is hosted and produced by us, Wilson Lai, Benjamin Yap, and Eli Sands. Our cover art is designed by Justina Yam, and our theme song is composed by the one and only Eli Sands. I'm Wilson. Take care, and we're looking forward to talking about more movies with you next time.